The Simplexity spectrum shows how cells evolve, co-adapt with the learner and the environment. After a couple of definitions, we'll look at examples, processes, the zone of proximal development, curriculum design, and choosing the level of complexity for specific goals. Simple systems have smaller quanta, smallest units of analysis, uniformity, and mere connections between parts. Moving up the spectrum, systems become larger units, diverse, with interdependent relations. Definitions of complexity vary, with this much in common: dynamic network of interactions whose ensemble behavior is not predictable from that of the parts. Do you remember the popular Gestalt mantra? The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. It's like that, but at the process level. A simple system has few parts, little interaction, uniformity, and predictable behavior. Nature provides many examples of increasing complexity. This adaptation is genetically programmed in its time. Eggs go to embryos. The tail comes in handy in the water. The front legs get it to shore. The forelegs expands its activity on land. The moth and butterfly follow a similar increase in complexity. Can you describe the increasing complexity over the evolution of the phone? The evolution of Homo sapiens sapiens is marked by increases in complexity over millennia. Can you name some? 2 centuries of language acquisition studies are marked by similar co-adapted increases in complexity. Development, learning, and evolution each have their signature processes: active inference, trial and error, explore, exploit, hypothesis testing, induction, deduction, mutation, selection. Although they differ in scale, range, domain, and processing load, they are fundamentally feedback loops. This graph shows complexity as quantitative and qualitative increase. At some level, complexity hits a glass ceiling. In order to be adaptive, the system must be self-referential and have sufficient flexibility. Here, complexity is presented as slightly more complicated, as a just right region between simple but stable and simple but unstable. It's a region where negative and positive feedback produce a dynamic equilibrium. For example, ice is too stable, vapor too unstable, but water, hey, water is life. Be like water. This scatter chart presents an adaptive curriculum. Lessons are sequenced by complexity. Co-adapting to each challenge prepares learners for the next. Completed tasks become the anchor for incrementing I+1 quantitatively and/or qualitatively. Teacher-learners customize their own spiraling curriculum, progressively refining a theme, topic, or task. Learners ascend the flow channel by emergence, adapting their learning strategies. Explore, exploit cycles. Let's take a closer look. Task activities oscillate between right and up, qualitative, quantitative. As we explore a new skill and exploit its use, we are adapting learning strategies for future challenges. Meta-learning. The accumulation of successes pushes the chaotic region up the Simplexity spectrum in a nonlinear progression. Alone, the experience stream has adaptive learning capability. And when coupled with experience, the cognitive stream does too. But language decoupled from experience or cognition does not. We call this dead language. Adaptation requires interaction. Hence, the expression, language is a virus, is parasitic. This spectrum ranks language learning controls by complexity. Tests, quizzes, true or false, are sufficient for simple and/or explicit learning of vocabulary, syntax, paper, and pen tests. But implicit learning relies on subliminal prompts, peer pressure, natural dialogues, and active listening. These are what target global traits such as intrinsic motivation, fluency, confidence, and adaptive learning strategies. If your learning goal is in only one stream, for example, short-term memory for a test, a correlation strategy will do, and learners habituate to this learning strategy. But an objective which is stated in terms of 2 streams requires strategies which coordinate those 2 streams. And again, learners habituate to that. Goals which are in the core call for learning strategies capable of adapting to the chaos of all 3 streams. These strategies use weak and strong emergence to guide synchrony to synergy. And learners who habituate to these achieve long-term memory, intrinsic motivation, confidence, fluency, global skills which feed strong emergence, the engines of adaptation. They are prepared for the uncertain future. Earlier, we presented this cross-section model of a cell and this hierarchy of nested processes. Let's overlay them. Within each single domain, correlation sufficiently accounts for meaning. But coordination is required to make meaning between two domains. Meanwhile, the greater variety at the core relies on synchronizing the dynamics of all three streams. Reaching equilibrium, a synergy emerges, which becomes the new quanta. And this is what we strive for in task-based language learning. This reference table can help teacher learners to coordinate complexity of learning goals with the complexity of learning strategies and optimize their compatibility along the Simplexity spectrum.